Piers Morgan is not just a transphobe. He's deeply sexist. Remember that time he told an athlete he could beat her at her own sport just because he's a man?
I am a male. And by the way, if I took you on at pickleball with enough training, I would win. You know why? That's why we separate the sexes.
But transphobia is just misogyny with extra steps, so that tracks. Naturally, the pseudo-debate channel Jubilee was watering at the mouth to have him on. So now that he has a book out, a book he seemingly has little knowledge of the contents of, go figure, it was a match sparked in gasoline heaven. One of Piers's pet hypotheses in this appearance is that using non-binary pronouns for non-binary people will cause the collapse of society. Somehow. So that's what we're looking at today. The extreme irony is that what Piers is doing, what he represents, is actually what is going to spell the end for this society. Look, we know the way to make it big in America, or the West, as men like Piers would put it, is to be aggressively wrong as loudly as possible and bugger the consequences. So Piers's fame is itself a cog in the engine driving us faster and faster towards a catastrophic cultural failure and the dawn of the next dark age. But by all means, let's focus on a part of speech so scary because Piers doesn't understand how language works. Hello, folks, and welcome to Factual, a bonus show that pops up from time to time when I have both the availability and just regular ability to do one, where we talk about the realities of trans and intersex people like me. If you're new here, my name is Ember, and I'm an intersex woman of transgender experience and diverse education, a pro-human public speaker, and a very tired firefighter, metaphorically speaking. This is where you yank on that subscribe button like a fire alarm, and then activate the like and share buttons as if they were the controls of the world's most advanced inferno suppression system. Because they could be if a lot more people took advantage of them. We're picking things up at claim number 3 in Piers's debate appearance, which is where Piers is not understanding how pronouns work. Let's go.
My next surrounding claim is that gender-neutral pronouns are pointless.
Hello.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good, thank you.
I'm Jeremiah. Okay, so, I bet you didn't know that you were coming to a therapy session.
Oh, good. I mean, it made Piers laugh. Maybe it's a disarming tactic.
I'm a therapist.
Great.
So, yes, finally.
Finally.
But
a missing link in my life.
Yes. So I would argue that pronouns, people being wanting to be referred to the pronouns that they want, actually aid them in their self-esteem improving and their validation and affirmation in life.
And their lives obviously are lacking a lot of other things. It's like nobody cares.
Well, that does not follow. But also, calling people by their proper pronouns, showing basic respect to people, it's not a matter of affirmation. It's a matter of being a decent person. You're not affirming them. You're demonstrating to them and everyone else that you aren't an asshole. It's not about them. It's about you demonstrating you aren't an asshole.
It's about pronouns.
What would their life be lacking?
What pronouns are yours?
I'm he, him.
Missy, hold on a sec. I got to back that up. Piers said something there that needs a little bit.
Being wanting to be referred to the pronouns that they want actually aid them in their self-esteem improving and their validation and affirmation in life.
And their lives obviously are lacking a lot of other things. It's like nobody cares about pronouns.
What would their...
Nobody cares about pronouns. Piers, it's your claim. You care enough. You made it one of your claims on your debate. What do you mean nobody cares? You clearly care very, very, very much. But also, it's more than just that. It's more than what you may be lacking in your life. Holy shit. There are androgynous people out there. There are people that you can't necessarily tell when you look at them how they want to be referred. They, them, gender neutral pronouns, that's a thing we can discuss, and we should, and we will. But Piers is just talking about pronouns at all. Why should anyone? Piers might come off as very manly when you look at him. Well, on the male side of things. Let's be honest, he's not exactly manly, but details. But guys with long hair often get confused for women. Women with short hair often get confused for guys. Being respectful about a person's pronouns isn't just about being a dick, it's about clarity. It's so you know who you're talking to. It's the same reason we use names. We don't double check your chromosomes to make sure your name matches. That would be ridiculous. Why would we do that with a part of speech? Languages aren't objective. We made them up. That's why there are many different languages.
What would their life be lacking?
What pronouns are yours?
I'm he, him.
Okay, so you're a bloke.
Yes.
Okay, why do you need to call yourself he, him? I know what you are. You're a man.
Right, but I think that you're talking
He didn't introduce himself as he, him. You asked Piers. You said, what are yours? And he answered you. What's the problem?
about people that
Do
want
you
to be
feel
called.
do you feel affirmed by the fact you call me he, him?
I'm talking about other pronouns, so like they, them, z.
Well, they,
right?
them. All right, they, them.
Yes.
There's one person
Well,
saying,
so,
call
okay.
me they, them.
But okay, well,
They, them is a plural.
Piers has been struggling with this for ages. Now, everybody knows the thing about they, them has been around for ages and ages. What a lot of people don't seem to catch, you is also a plural pronoun. When I refer to Piers, if I were talking to Piers and I said, you have some ridiculous ideas, that's a gender neutral plural pronoun. If I were to refer to him correctly in the singular, it would be thou. Thou hast some strange ideas. And it's just wild to me that he's complaining about a plural used in a singular sense, which it isn't. It could be either plural or singular. But it's been used in the singular sense longer than the word you has been used in the singular sense. But I mean, maybe that's why he's in the United States, because he got kicked out of England for not speaking English. Perhaps.
Right.
How can you be more than one
So
person?
guess what? What about someone
I mean, call me stupid,
but someone that's non-binary who can engender.
What does
two
non-binary
pronouns.
mean?
I'm explaining it right now. Who can engender both masculine and feminine traits, and that is their third gender. If that's what
Everyone has masculine and feminine traits. Everyone. That's why it's a spectrum. Some people have more of one than the other, but even that doesn't necessarily determine their gender. We all know of men who are very, very feminine. We all know of women who are very, very masculine. Whether you're masculine or feminine has nothing to do with who you are. My goodness.
they want to be called, why is it so hard for you and other people to call them what they want to be
I
called?
just think it's all bullshit.
But I'm asking you, why can't you just call them what they want?
You thinking it's bullshit doesn't matter, Piers. I think your opinions are bullshit, Piers. So what? No one cares what you think. Just don't be a dick. That's all we're asking. You can think it's bullshit all day long. That doesn't entail you have to be a dick.
To be called
No,
if that's what they want to be
Because I
called.
don't want to.
So how are you being empathic?
Or you could try to understand, which is a thing that will come up soonish.
If you don't want to call them what they want to be
I don't
called.
care.
But so
I think
empathy,
again-
empathy is a muscle that you could develop in therapy. So if you went to therapy, you'd have developed that
I
muscle.
can't think of anything I'd rather less develop.
Well,
When one
Empathy is a sin, folks. Is this the thing that makes Piers a right-winger? Is this what he thinks lets him put on the MAGA hat, just aggressively being a dick? Is that why people listen to him? Because he's loud and a dick? You know, there may be something to that.
one human being says to me, call me they, them, I laugh. It's absurd. There's
Okay.
one of them.
and that's
So you don't understand English, but you're laughing at the other person because you don't understand English. Is this what makes Piers a right-winger? The fact that he's gleefully proud of being ignorant instead of just learning? Wild. A grown-ass man.
shows that you're not empathic.
I asked a non-binary person who was a guest on my show recently, what does non-binary mean? She couldn't explain it.
Okay, so
And he peddles this story all the damn time. I think that's the reason he had Lori Penny on his show, was so he could say this later. I asked a non-binary person and they couldn't explain it. Of course, he has to misgender Lori. Let's take a quick look at how that went.
I'm just curious what you mean by non-binary. What does that mean?
I'm curious. Firstly,
What are your pronouns?
they, them.
What does that mean? There's only one of you.
I mean,
what
if you
does-
don't understand basic grammar, that's on you.
I don't really understand.
You do.
I don't understand. I've got to be honest with you. I don't understand the concept of what non-binary means. Well, explain what
I can tell you
non-binary is.
exactly what
It
being a
means that my gender
transsexual is.
identity is something other than man or woman. Something other than man or woman.
They explained it right there. Gender identity is something other than man or woman. It's what it says on the tin. It is non-binary. Not a difficult concept, but Piers either wasn't listening or didn't understand, or both. And all the times it's been explained to him since. I mean, it's, in fairness, it's to his political advantage to pretend he doesn't understand, because it gives him something to bluster about, something to be anti-woke about. But it's also disingenuous. It makes him look stupid, which is a stupid thing to do. Nonetheless, he claims that Lori Penny could not explain what it means. They did, in one sentence. The fact that Piers couldn't comprehend it or didn't listen is not Lori's fault.
It's actually torturous.
So that's her, but the thing is, why don't you get someone on your show who can explain
How many
it?
pronouns are there?
Multiple.
How many?
I don't know. I'm not an expert in
The
that.
last count is there are 74 official ones. Do you know?
No, okay, you're going to say
74 official pronouns. What does that make a difference? I is a pronoun. You is a pronoun. They and them when you're referring to multiple people is a What the hell does that have to do with the price of tea in China?
cat and dog.
No,
I'm
no,
a cat. I'm a cat.
no.
There's he,
I'll come
him,
to those.
she,
No.
ze, they, them.
No.
Probably kind
I'm
of
talking
those.
about gender pronouns.
Yes,
right?
so am I.
There are 74. One of them is astral gender, an affinity with space.
No, where are you getting this information?
Astral gender. That's a xenogender, not a pronoun. That's not how that works. That's like saying one of the pronouns is man. No, Piers, that's a gender. Man is a gender, not the pronoun that you refer to a man. At fucking hell. He makes this pretense of being the most informed, the most enlightened, but then he aggressively parades ignorance. It's no wonder MAGA love him so much. He's just like them.
Astral genders. Google it. Literally, Google it.
Have you had someone on your show who said, I'm an astral whatever?
Yes, I actually got one on.
No, and did you pay that?
I didn't look through Piers' show to determine if there was an astral gender person. Maybe there was. It's not super important because that's not what we're talking about. The claim is gender neutral pronouns are pointless. But what Piers is actually demonstrating is that he doesn't understand things.
That person to go on? Like, I mean,
Utter lunacy, the whole thing. It's like kids identifying as cats at school.
no,
You know what I would do with
That
them?
does not happen.
It does
That
happen.
is some bogus like media presentation.
No,
That does not happen.
No, it has happened. Read my book, Woke is Dead. It's all in there.
Buy my DVDs, mark your bingo card, take a drink, whatever it is you're doing. I mean, we knew that that's what Piers is here for, is to sell his book, but he can't describe the information because he doesn't know what's in his book. Because I don't know if he had a ghostwriter like most conservatives do, or if he had AI do it. Does it matter? Because the people who buy his book sure as hell aren't going to read it. Whatever the case may be, he doesn't have the data because he has to appeal to buy my book because he doesn't know what's in his book. Amazing.
I don't know how to rate that.
There was a phenomenon called the furries. You know what it was? Kids would go to school
So
and say,
I know what furries
"I'm
are,
identifying
and
as a
furries
cat."
are not a gender. That's
I'm a cat.
that's its own kind of lifestyle. It's like people in outfits.
But this is where, with all due respect,
Furries are an entirely different thing. Furries are closer to a cosplay club. There's a lot of very interesting dynamics within furry culture, including some adult role play. But that it's not whatever the fuck Piers thinks it is. It's not a gender.
This is where limitless self-identity takes you. It takes you to the absurd. For example, do you believe, let me ask you,
Okay,
do you believe that you can identify as anything you like?
No.
Oh, what are the
No.
exceptions?
I think that most people, that when they think about their gender identity, it's he, him, she, her, they, Z. Those are the ones that
What's
people
Z?
are. Z is oh God, no, I can't explain it. No, but Z.
You no idea, have you? It's all complete baloney.
Why do they, how did they get these people? My goodness. And this is one of the dangers of doing these kinds of shows, is because you put someone up against Piers, and this person, at least until they get flagged off, is the avatar of wokeness confronting Piers, who becomes the champion of rightness or intellectualism or something. And the fact that this random person that none of us voted for happened to be the first one in the chair, when he says something silly, it makes all of us look silly. The fuck? The fact he can't explain it doesn't mean it makes no sense. Now, for anybody who does actually care, Zer is one of many prepackaged non-binary pronouns to make it easier for people to refer to non-binary people who can't handle they, them. Zer is popular literally for people like Piers who cannot wrap their brain around using they, them. That's why it's there. Yet Piers is making fun of it.
What's Z? I've no idea. And you're the guy trying to defend this nonsense. Here's my other question for you, right?
I think we're out,
it used to be LGBT, then it was LGBTQ. What is it now? What's the
It's LGBTQ plus, or it could be LGBTQIA2S, two spirit.
Right, and what does it stand for?
Two spirit.
He's got a piece of paper. First of all, who lets the guests bring notes now? But also, it didn't used to be LGBT. It's never been an official, there's no agency that declares we're adding another letter or something. It's designed to be inclusive. I realize small, smooth-brained people like Piers, they get confused when you have more than 4 letters in a thing. That's fine. That's why we have GSRM, gender, sexual, and romantic minorities. It's a coverall term for the whole thing. You don't have to add any other letters. GSRM, that covers it. Okay, cool. Now, as far as the typical initialism, LGBT, it didn't used to be LGBT. It didn't used to have a T. It didn't used to have a B. It didn't used to have an L. And Stonewall, it was just gay people, gay rights. If you were a lesbian, gay rights. If you were a trans person, gay rights. We've added letters to acknowledge the differences between people within the overall movement for freedom to be ourselves. That's it. We keep adding letters because we keep acknowledging new things that we want to give distinction to. For example, for a long time, intersex wasn't included because people are like, oh, well, that's just how you're born. It's not a sexuality. Right. Being gay is how you're born. Being bi is how you're born. Being trans is how you're born. Being intersex is how you're born. But more importantly, we're all hated by the same people for the same reason. Since we all fight together, we may as well all stand together.
No, the whole thing. LGBT, read the whole thing.
Lesbian, gay, bisexual, LGBT, trans, queer, or questioning, LGBTQIA, intersex, asexual, two-spirit, it's the two-spirited individuals.
You forgot pansexual and asexual.
Well, so pan...
He did say asexual, and pansexual isn't in that initialism that he rattled off.
I did say asexual. Pan is not in there. Nice
to meet you.
But that's one of the reasons that having an easier to remember thing, a lot of people don't add the two-spirit part. That's a recognition of Native Americans who already had non-binary genders within their cultures long before Europeans started to figure this shit out. It's also worth noting Europeans had non-binary genders in their cultures long before the colonial enterprise wiped it all out and declared there is only man and only woman.
Hello.
Hello, Piers.
What's your name?
I'm Jenny.
Jenny, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. So, we wanted to talk about, I guess your initial claim is that pronouns are silly or purposeless.
I think we've just established how silly they are. I mean, even the people defending them can't remember what they mean.
Right. So, I just wanted to touch on two things here. So, I don't think anyone is denying biological sex assignment at birth, right? Whatever you're.
Why are we bringing this up? We're talking about pronouns. Specifically, Piers just said all pronouns are pointless. That's an interesting thing we could talk about. But no, we're going to go off in whatever direction she wants. And maybe it's a great point she's going to make. But why is she making it here? This is another drawback of the Jubilee style format, is there's all these wannabe influencers who want to get their screen time and want to land sick burns so they can get a career. Like, what's his name? Or that other guy. You know, the ones who landed sick burns and got a career from it.
Doctor determines your.
Well, it's not about doctors assigning anything, is it? You're either born with certain genitals or you're not.
Right, but a doctor has to look at it.
When you're a
to
male or
determine that.
female.
Right, understand.
Do you accept that?
Yeah, I
This
do
whole-
think
what
that
does-
we've got
this
two
whole phrase,
sexes.
assigned at birth, what does it mean?
That means a doctor has looked at you as
No,
a baby,
they look
and
at you and they just see what I look at you and see. I don't have to be a doctor.
No, doctors look. All right, we've already established Piers is a fucking idiot. He's a bloviating blowhard full of bluster. There's not much going on between his ears, which may be why he doesn't understand gender, because gender is what's between your ears. But I digress. When a doctor assigns your gender at birth, they look between your legs, they go, oh, there's stuff there, or oh, there isn't stuff there. And then they write it down on a piece of paper. They don't check your chromosomes, they don't check your hormones, they don't check your internal pieces parts. And if the external pieces parts they can see are ambiguous, they make a guess. And sometimes they do a surgery. If it has to be enforced with a scalpel, it's not a real thing. You know?
Know what you're assigned as.
Right, but okay.
You're just
so-
born. Do you accept that the vast majority of people ever in the history of planet Earth are born male or female?
Yeah, I do believe
But
that
can
there
we stop
is
the phrase
some.
assigned at birth by a doctor?
That's
Literally,
what a doctor
I've
does,
had 4
though.
babies. They look at them and they go, oh, it's a boy, it's a girl. That's it.
Right. So a
What
doctor.
you
And what has happened to Piers is all that has ever happened to anyone ever. It's not like people with, for example, the Guividoches of the Dominican Republic, who appear to be female at birth, but when they hit puberty, suddenly develop male external anatomy. Sure, it's rare, but that's not the point. The point isn't how rare it is. The point is that glancing at an infant's junk doesn't make that correct. It's a guess. It's a fairly good guess, but that doesn't mean it's correct.
then decide
determines
to kill
that and
yourself,
writes that on your
it's entirely
birth
down to you.
certificate.
But there's no one
Okay,
assigning
can I
anything.
finish my point, please?
Yeah, but they're not assigning anything.
Can I
It's a
finish
ridiculous
my point,
phrase.
please?
Feel
Thank
free.
you. So, whatever your biological sex is determined by a doctor upon your birth, I don't think anyone's denying that.
Right.
However, gender is a construct that is how we express ourselves.
How many genders are there?
For me, I think that it's a scale, and however you want to express yourself is up to you.
Can I
But
express
can I-
myself as anything I want?
Well, if you let me finish my point. Okay.
Piers' thing, his whole thing is interrupting and being louder than everyone else, as if that somehow makes him more correct. He's fishing for a specific answer so that he can counter with, oh, there's only man and only woman, or whatever the fuck, because his real issue isn't that gender neutral pronouns are pointless, it's that anything other than male or female is silly. In fact, calling himself a man would be silly. He should be calling himself a male, but whatever. That's what he's trying to get to. That's the argument he's trying to pick in his disingenuous way of laying out a somewhat reasonable sounding claim and then pushing back against the woke silliness until he gets to where he wants to go. But I don't think that's where she wants to go.
So, for example, we talk about masculinity, we talk about femininity, and some days I feel like I want to feel more feminine, so I wear a dress or I do things that are socially constructed and designated as feminine. Or maybe other people have like this idea of masculinity, so they present themselves in that way. So gender is different from biological sex in that it's how you express yourself. To me,
Yeah, that's indisputable. And I'm sure Piers may try to dispute it, because just because a thing is obviously wrong doesn't mean Piers won't argue for it. But yeah, gender is a spectrum, and even disregarding individual differences, it's still a spectrum, as several people have pointed out in recent years. There's a rather large difference between the lumberjacks of New England in the 19th century and the samurai of Japan in the 14th or 15th century. One of them wears armor, fights with swords, and reads poetry to express masculinity. The other wears plaid and chops down the biggest trees they can find. They're both masculine, but in vastly different ways. What it means to be a man is very culture specific, and many cultures have a range of possibilities for those things. In colonial European culture, for example, you could be a king, you could be a knight, you could be a priest, you could be a landowner, you could be a merchant. These are all valid expressions of manhood, but they're very different in how you go about actualizing that. It's always been a spectrum. If you can rank it, if you can categorize it, then it's not binary.
Somebody's gender expression and how they want to be addressed is no different than using somebody's name.
Right.
Because I write, so when we use pronouns, it's with purpose, right?
What are your pronouns?
She, her.
So you're a woman.
Yes.
So why do you need to call yourself she, her?
Well, that's just how you.
Again, Piers, you asked. She doesn't have to call herself she, her. She's telling you that's what people use when talking about her. You asked for her pronouns. She doesn't call herself that. Unless she's one of those writers who refers to herself in the third person, which, you know, can be fun from time to time.
Dress
Why?
women.
So why use them as pronouns?
But pronouns are just used in English
We never
language.
used to. This has just only started 10 years ago. Nobody ever.
Pronouns has always been used.
Only started 10 years ago. Once again, just because Piers isn't aware of something means it doesn't exist. Absolutely wild.
Used in the English language.
I'm talking about the new cavalcade of extra pronouns.
I think
Other
we're
than-
making it out to
if
be
you're a
so much
woman,
more
you're
than
a
it really
she, her.
is.
If you're a man, you're a he, him. That's it.
Okay.
Right? The rest of it is just a complete construct of the woke left.
Okay,
None
a
of
construct,
it, as
like
we've
you
already
said.
established, none of it makes sense to the point that none of you can even explain half of it.
No, and I'm still explaining it. So
People keep explaining it at you, Piers, and you keep not listening and then declaring that people can't explain it. I suppose from a certain point of view, that's accurate. If you prevent people from explaining things to you, if you plug your ears and go la la la, then yeah, it's technically true that people can't explain it to you, but that doesn't mean people can't explain it. As he told the previous interlocutor, Google exists. 5 seconds on Google will answer your question, Piers. He's intentionally ignorant for performative reasons.
So
How many genders are there?
I'm still talking about gender expression.
Can you tell
and
me how many genders there are?
I'm talking about.
How many are there?
I personally don't care. I don't know.
Do you know a number?
No, because for biological sex,
Do
maybe
you
we can
believe,
talk about that
do
in
you believe in
binary.
the concept of limitless self-identity?
No. So if
So
you
what's
would let me,
where's the limit?
if you would let me continue,
Where's the limit?
if you would let me.
This is what we like to call a false dichotomy. There's a concept of limitless identity, whatever the fuck he just said. What does that mean? A good response to that sort of thing is to ask the ontology question. What is that? That thing you just said. Please define it for me. What the fuck are you talking about? But that notwithstanding, the idea that it's only that specific thing or a certain number, that's a false dichotomy. It's not either or. It could be something else. And in this case, it happens to be something else. If you came up with any specific number, it would be incorrect because it's a spectrum.
Continue. Thank you. So what I'm saying though is that when you refer to somebody and their pronouns that they ask for, it's just general English language how we use it. There are plenty of languages out there that don't even have pronouns because that's just how the language works. So if you can speak a different language and not have to refer to somebody by their pronouns and know exactly who you're talking to, then I don't think pronouns are a big deal.
I hear you, and you phrased it very nicely. But my point being, I think it's
Did Piers listen to something? This seems suspicious.
got completely out of hand.
Okay.
When there are 74 cited genders, if you Google it, as the official list of genders, and one of them is
The official list of genders. Who's declaring the official list of genders? Oh my goodness. All right, let's do this. I can't spell official list of genders. Is he going with the Wikipedia one? Is he going with medicine.net? All 72 genders list? Oh, I bet he's going with Gender Wiki because that shows as being transphobic. Amazing. Or maybe it's this Reddit list of gender identities. But out of these, is it the University of Nebraska? Are they the official list maker who determines what is on the list and what's not? Like what official by who? What authority is controlling this? Oh my goodness.
Affinity with space. I'm calling bullshit. When you have LGBTQ and it now has so many letters that even experts in the field of the LGBT community acronym cannot remember what they all mean, it is ridiculous. And when it comes to limitless self-identity,
see, there's a term for this, but I can't think of it right at the moment. It's when you take one person who happens to be a member of a group and you hold them up as representative of the entire group. It's sort of like the composition division fallacy, but it's applied to an entire population. It's taking the last person he spoke to and saying this person is an advocate for this group, and since he didn't know every single thing about this one weird ass question I asked, and incidentally that person did correctly list off all the letters in the current version of LGBTQIA 2S plus. Even if he couldn't have done that, even if he left off the things that Piers said he left off, which aren't in that initialism, that still wouldn't mean no one knows. It's doing the anecdote thing. It's saying the one thing that happened to me must be what always happens to everyone.
I had this debate with someone on International Women's Day on my show Uncensored. And I had two guests. One was white, one was black. There's a relevance to that. And we were talking about this. And I said, right, two women. I said, do you believe in limitless self-identity? And the wokey of the two guests said, I do.
The wokey. Okay, limitless self-identity. Let's see if we can get a definition for that too. Limitless self-identity. All right, what do we got here? Psychology Today, uncovering our limitless selves. Quora, how to become limitless. When Reddit, when one is identified with the self, limitless awareness. Shifting your identity for the better with Jess O'Connell. My limitless identity. What are we talking about, Piers? You keep saying this thing like it's a term, but what does it mean? Because I'm not finding it. Oh, here's a thing from TikTok. Limitless self-identity debate explained. It's 57 seconds long. Let's take a look. Oh, look, it's Piers.
Why can't I identify as a black lesbian?
Well, firstly, I mean, it was.
I'm serious. If I can identify as anything without any need to prove I'm actually what that is, why can't I on International Women's Day say I'm Piers Morgan, I'm a black lesbian?
I think taking it to a kind of absurd status.
I think that's
talking about quite a
with respect, I think that
change.
you'd already opened the absurdity door by saying it is limitless. You can do what you like. Anyone can say I'm a woman. So I simply ask you, why can't I?
I mean, this point kind of ridicules trans people to an extent.
Actually, I think what you said ridicules trans people. Tommy, I mean, look, I don't see why, if it's limitless, I can't just say I'm Piers Morgan, I'm a black lesbian, because that is where limitless self-identity takes us. It means that male rapists can say they're women and get into female prisons. It means I can say I'm a two-spirit penguin or a black lesbian, and why can't I? Because that is where it... Why?
So she doesn't actually, I don't know, this person in the bottom, she just watches. She doesn't actually say anything. She doesn't actually add anything. It looks like it says it's explained, but it's just Piers talking. How does that explain anything? Whatever. C'est la vie, I suppose. Obviously, a person can't identify. Piers is fundamentally misunderstanding what it means to identify. To identify means to tell someone else who you are, right? Like your name. I identify with my name. I am Ember. I can add additional identifying information. I'm from the United States. I'm an intersex woman of transgender experience. I'm a secular minister. I'm a public speaker. This is all identifying. Christians identify as Christian. Buffalo Bills fans identify as Buffalo Bills fans. It's just conveying information about who you are. That's the identity part, who you are. Piers is deliberately misunderstanding it and saying you could claim to be anything. Well, you could, but you would be a lying piece of shit if you did. That's not what identity means.
And you have to respect what people want. She said, yes. I went, okay, in that case, I, on International Women's Day, Piers Morgan, am now identifying as a black lesbian. And the black panelist burst out laughing because she knew.
Why does he always go with black lesbian? Does he have some fantasies that he needs to work through? Maybe he should do some therapy, possibly.
What I was doing, which is taking this argument to its logical conclusion, which is
No. What you're doing is taking a straw man. You're building a straw man, a false misrepresentation, an intentionally misleading representation of the argument. You're failing to understand it and erecting a version of it that's easy for you to knock down. That's not taking the argument to its logical conclusion. Piers is, again, either being dishonest or deliberately dumb.
once you make it limitless, society just collapses because
Right.
anyone can say that.
There it is. Society just collapses. If Piers is ever allowed, free speech champion that he is, to identify as a black lesbian, the world will end. That's just it. It will cause the collapse of society. So clearly we can't allow Piers to identify as a black lesbian. But that's not a good reason to deny black women the right to identify as lesbians. What's the issue, Piers?
They're anything they want.
If I may
and
interject
you
with
would
that.
say to me, if I said to you I'm a black lesbian, what would you say?
I would say that you're conflating this idea of limitless, like whatever gender expression,
Self-identity.
self-identity.
Yeah.
I already said I don't agree with that.
Yeah, but you didn't say where the limit is.
Right. So for me personally, and what I believe,
That's another one of those bait and switch kind of things, false dichotomy kind of things, false analogy kind of things. Just because you don't believe in one thing that has the word limitless in it, doesn't mean you believe there is a limit. You're just not convinced that specific thing, which no one has defined. It's weird how Piers complains about people's inability to explain things or define things when he's throwing out terms that don't exist, apparently, that he is literally the only person on earth who says and never defines. Very weird.
is that there are scientific things that we can agree to, like biological sex, right? But gender expression is a cultural
I know,
and
you said
societal.
that, but where is the limit
Right.
to what you
So
can
you
identify?
can't identify as another race because that's just genetically not correct,
Right.
right? So,
So there are limits to this.
yeah, I do.
So I'm really curious where the woke limit is on self-identity.
Gender is a social construct. A social construct means we made it up, right?
Yes.
Exactly. So,
It's completely
so
invented.
therefore, you can have whatever identity that you want because you decided to create that.
Yes,
for
but
you.
my point,
But-
Did Piers just concede that gender is a social construct entirely? That it's entirely made up by society? Because it sounded like he did. Let's go back and check that again. 5649. This will probably work.
curious where the woke limit is on self-identity.
gender is a social construct. A social construct means we made it up, right?
Yes.
Exactly. So,
It's com-
It's a social construct. We made it up. Yes. We have consensus. We have agreement. Piers has become a wokey. He understands that gender is entirely social. Praise the Lord and pass the tax rebates. Of course, he'll reverse that in, 5 minutes or so.
completely
so
invented.
therefore, you can have whatever identity that you want because you decided to create that.
Yes,
for
but
you.
my point,
But
the
is
point
that
of my,
not-
well,
but why is that a problem?
No, here's the problem. It's got so out of control.
A note on what she just said. She just expressed that anybody could create any identity they want. Now, again, that is not what we're talking about when we talk about identity. Identity is the conveyance of who you are, information about you to another person. You are identifying yourself, right? But if we take her proposal that a person could conceivably construct a mental construct of who they want to be and then try to actualize that in their real lives, so what? So what if they did? So what if they did? So what if every single person pulled genders out of a hat in elementary school and then traded to make sure they had one that they liked, like the kids in City of Ember trading jobs? I don't want to be a pipe worker. I want to be a messenger. So what if they did? What harm? Aside from offending Piers for some reason he can't explain.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
How are you?
Ryan.
Nice to meet you, Ryan.
Piers. So,
Actually, I have my preferred pronouns.
okay, what are they?
Hot, hotter, hottest.
I can call you that. I can
Great.
honor that. Yeah.
It's the one joke. I identify as something that isn't a gender. Hot, hotter, hottest. How clever. What is it, a 22-year-old joke at this point? But Piers is very clever. He thought of a joke that's been going, and it's the third interlocutor. Amazing. Obviously, those aren't pronouns. You could go by whatever the fuck you want if it makes you happy, because it doesn't actually hurt me to call you hotness self. I don't care. That's fine. But just say that's what you're doing. Stop this disingenuous I identify as an attack helicopter bullshit with other words swapped in to make it sound original.
Yeah.
But throughout the conversation,
Sure.
I expect
Okay.
you to
All
call me
right. Hottie, is that okay?
that. I prefer hottest.
Hottest?
Yeah.
Okay. I
what
take
I'm
that
feeling
personal
today.
because I thought I was. So look, I think you do this really
And in fairness, I'm hottest. My fucking name is Ember. Come on now.
great job of taking the far edge use case and writing a book about it. I think what you're trying to do is take this thing that is explicitly a one-dimensional, two-dimensional range and adding things like this random, star thing and then elephants and all that stuff. Nobody who is serious.
It's not random.
Oh, fine.
These
Fine. I
things
tell you what, you're right. If you can Google.
Technically, it's not random if this person did actually appear on a show. But again, it's just Piers seizing on anecdotes, just like the non-binary person who couldn't explain, who did explain. And let's take another look at that, just to be clear about it.
Appreciate it.
I'm just curious what you mean by non-binary. What does that mean?
I'm curious. Firstly,
What are your pronouns?
say them.
What does that mean? There's only one of you.
I mean,
what
if you
does-
don't understand basic grammar, that's on you. But
I don't
think,
really
I think
understand.
you do.
I don't understand. I've got to be honest with you. I don't understand the concept of what non-binary means. Well, explain what
I
non-binary
can tell you
is.
exactly what
It
being a
means that my gender
transsexual is.
identity is something other than man or woman. Something other than man or woman.
But nobody can explain. Of course, Piers. Of course.
It must be
No,
mainstream.
no. If you read my book, you'll see these are specific examples.
No, I got it.
Read my book. Yes, there's specific examples. They're anecdotes. They're not data. That's not how anything works, Piers. But of course, that is how conservatives work.
I got it. No, I understand. You were really good at taking anecdotes and making them data. If that was how science
Not
worked, you would-
data.
Oh, what did I just say? I'm a fucking prophet.
Not data, just facts.
Well,
For example,
Not data, just facts. What? What? So data are not factual. Facts are whatever Piers wants to be most true, I suppose. Holy crap.
for example, there was a school in the north of England called the Altrincham School for Girls,
Okay.
where everybody there is a girl. That's why they call it Altrincham School for Girls. And then because of the trans activist campaign, eventually they banned teachers and pupils from referring to each other as girls, even though everybody there was a girl.
I think the vast majority of people who care about this at all would.
Okay, Piers has misrepresented just about everything else he said in this debate, so let's look this one up too. Let's go back a little
That
bit.
was how science
Not
worked.
data, just facts.
Well,
For example,
fine.
there was a school in the north of England called the Altrincham School for Girls.
Okay.
Where
Altrincham School for Girls. Let's see if we can find that. Altrincham School for Girls. Okay, Altrincham in the United Kingdom. Cool. Now let's try banned from saying girl. Because, yeah, there's going to be a news story about that if there's anything remotely close to that. Okay, so we've got Pink News, top British girl grammar school has bans teachers from calling calling something. Oh, here's one, change.org. Grammar school for girls banning saying girls. Okay, 2018. Let's try that one, and we'll see what we can find. If there's anything interesting. Okay, the issue. The Altrincham Grammar School for Girls has suggested pupils do not use the word girls as it may upset transsexual or the gender unsure. Education as implied means listening to the wisdom of a teacher. It is clear it's almost like there's sentences here, but there's no punctuation. This is amazing. It is clear that this viewpoint is at least idealistic, if not dangerous. We suggest that those involved in the decision to broadcast this be removed from duty with immediate effect. Cool. And that's it. That's the petition thing. Okay, so what we can glean from this is that using the word girls may be upsetting to trans boys who are in the school, or people who are unsure, or maybe non-binary, or whatever the case may be. And that's so close to making a point. There may be something to this. Now let's look at the BBC article. All right, gender neutral policy criticized. What do we got here? A transgender former student of a girls' school which has begun a gender neutral policy said it does not go far enough and needs to change its name. The Altrincham Grammar School for Girls said the move announced last month was to help pupils with gender issues and break ingrained habits. However, it said there was no plan to drop the word girls from its name because it's its name. Seth, 22, said that while they kept their non-binary identity secret for fear of expulsion. Makes sense. In a school where there's a very heavy gender emphasis, you may not want to come out. And here's the thing, you do not have to come out. The whole point of the identity movement is you should be able to express yourself, to communicate to other people who you are, to tell them your name and your pronouns and your identity if you wish to. But you don't have to. No one is entitled to your information, especially if it seems like they're probably not safe. So the school, rated as outstanding by Ofsted, said the policy followed training and understanding of challenges faced by students questioning their gender identity or those who do not identify as girls. It said it was using gender neutral language in communications with students and parents and was seeking to stop calling pupils girls. That kind of makes sense. If you have a mixed class of multiple people, some of whom are boys, some of whom are gender neutral people, calling them all girls is kind of shitty. If that's a thing, if that's a class you're dealing with. Like, for example, if you went to a public school where you have mixed classes, would it be cool to call them all, hey, boys, take out your pens? That would kind of make the girl students feel excluded. That would kind of make the non-binary students feel erased. So don't do that. Say students instead of boys. Same thing here. Instead of saying girls, say students or whatever. It's not even an inconvenience. It's just more accurate. How dare the schools have accurate information? Quote, we know for many transgender students that being misgendered can be very hurtful, and we are conscious of figures recently published by Stonewall that more than 4 in 5 trans young people have self-harmed, and that more than 2 in 5 have attempted to take their own life. Probably true. That's stats from Stonewall, which I don't have handy. That's in about the same range as what we hear elsewhere. Not the point, though. The fact that trans kids have a very hard time and sometimes struggle with self-harm is true, but that's not the relevant fact here. The relevant fact here is that it is disrespectful to call a boy a girl, just as it's disrespectful to call a girl a boy. It's a matter of basic decency. I understand in a world hurtling towards fascism, half the population doesn't understand decency anymore. I get that. But that's all that needs to be said here, is it's just basic respect. It added it was important students feel comfortable and bring their true selves to their learning environment. And that seems wise for reasons of education. It's a lot easier to learn if you're not worried someone may try to murder you. For instance, Seth, who does not want to use their full name, welcomed the policy, but said it should do more, such as drop the use of girls in its name. Now, again, it's part of its name. It could do better, but it's understandable why they keep the name for tradition purposes. Much like sports teams often keep names that are not the most sensitive for tradition purposes. Eventually, public will inspire them to want to change their name, but it's kind of an out there thing. It's not like, if you get what you actually need, do the details, like what the name is, matter as much, you know? The 22-year-old said, I appreciate they're doing something, but still being officially called the Ultra Trim Grammar School for Girls is a bit like putting blue tack on the boat after it's already sinking. I don't think that's a good analogy. I don't think that follows. Like, it's changing the name or not won't prevent the boat from sinking in this case. It's what you do about the leak. Do you plug the leak? Do you heave-ho the water out? Then maybe you won't sink. Changing the name on the boat is definitely not going to make a difference in whether it sinks or not, in this analogy. Anyhow, this goes on for a minute. It's not super important. So now we understand what the hell they're talking about. Let's get back to Piers.
Everybody there is a girl. That's why they call it Altrincham School for Girls.
Except they're not. Everybody there is not a girl. We just read a news report from a transphobic news outlet about a non-binary student who went there. Clearly, they're not all girls. If they have students who are not girls, they are not all girls. QED.
And then because of the trans activist campaign, eventually they banned teachers and pupils from referring to each other as girls, even though everybody there was a girl.
I think the vast majority of people who care about this at all would say that's an edge case, and most of us think that's weird.
Great.
That's the
If you take it at face value, it seems like an edge case that most people would say is weird. Fair enough. But if you understand that Piers is just full of shit and misrepresenting the story, shock and surprise. Remember, this man is supposedly a journalist, and he can't even recount a story that's mentioned in his own book with accurate details. He made a point of exemplifying this story, and he cannot tell you the story with accurate details. He has to either misrepresent it intentionally or misremember it incompetently. But he's a journalist. Amazing.
vast majority.
And
of
I
people.
agree with you.
Yeah.
Okay. So explain to me why you think personal pronouns actually matter.
Well, you know, the question of gender has gone back for thousands of years. There were over 150 distinct civilizations in North America before colonialism that had more than two genders. So this is what we in the real world like to call an open question that evolves over time. I don't think that the fact that the question exists means there's some systemic sickness within society. And I don't understand why the fact that something that maybe you're not that familiar with or is an open question makes you uncomfortable.
My argument is only that this point.
Right. Just because you don't know how it works doesn't mean it's bad. This is one of the fundamental aspects of conservatism. Why, despite the fact that Piers identifies as being somewhat on the left, that's an interesting situation. Suffice it to say, objectively, he fits in better with the conservatives because the conservative mindset is, I don't understand, therefore smash. It is wrong. It must be destroyed. A vaccine that could save my children's lives, I didn't have that growing up, therefore it's bad. A new medical procedure that could treat cancer, well, I didn't have that growing up, therefore that's bad. You not understanding something does not mean it's bad. It's an opportunity for you to learn. And I'm not saying the left is all about learning. That's clearly not the case either. But conservatives seem to make it part of their identity to be scared of learning new things.
Pointless.
Well,
I mean, what are your pronouns?
He, him.
Right. So everyone I've asked has basically said she, her, he, him.
Yeah.
Well, in my day, it was just male and female, man and woman.
Got it.
So
well,
we
here's the
don't-
thing
we
that
don't
but it's not for us to get.
In my day, now we're talking, like I just said, it's about how it was when he was a kid. But no, I dare say almost no one said male and female. It was he, her, she, him kind of thing. Like, nobody was running around saying, good day, my male. Like, no one talks like that.
It's not ours to get. That's the
No,
point.
but my point is, I shouldn't be compelled to use absurd.
You don't. Well,
pronouns.
fine. Listen, whatever you call absurd.
Again, because you don't understand it doesn't mean it's absurd. And also, no one's compelling you to do anything. What do you mean compelled? Sneaking in that loaded language. Are we doing a Jordan Peterson, Bill C-16 thing? How many people have been thrown in jail from Bill C-16, Piers? What are we doing?
Fine, whatever you choose not to.
You
say
shouldn't
is
have
fine.
to call me
Here's the thing:
hottest.
you could go around.
Even
and
though
call
I
me,
say my
listen,
preferred pronoun is
hold on,
hottest,
hold on.
you
As a
don't
gay
have to
man,
call me that.
listen. As a gay man, you could go around calling me a, and that would be okay. You would
That
be
would-
allowed to do that. You're not going to get arrested. You're not going to go to prison.
but it
You
would
could do
be-
that. Exactly, it would be offensive and unkind. It would
How-
not be.
Right. Now, the bleeped out word, well, the blanked out word was the F slur, which may or may not be true for this person. I mean, considering he's got a rainbow wristwatch and he brought it up, fairly good odds it's true. But it's unkind. It's offensive. Why? Because it's a derogatory expression that because of what kind of category of person he fits into, it makes him less of a person, less worthy of a person, perhaps even subhuman. Yeah, it's a little more than unkind, but you can do that. You can be rude to other people. It's actually not illegal. It just means you're a dick.
Okay,
Wait, you're
but
answering-
you could do it. What I'm saying is you don't have to accept
Well, wait
other
a minute, I
people's
didn't say
pronouns.
anything.
Yes, well, you've been saying a lot.
You're putting-
I'm referring to things you've said.
You're putting words into
Okay,
my
fine,
mouth.
correct me.
You should let me say what I think
Okay,
about
go
you.
for it. I can't wait.
Bless his heart. Piers, Mr. Motormouth, Mr. I'm going to talk over everyone like a steamroller, wants to let this man let him speak. Okay.
Just found your terminology offensive.
Okay,
As object.
is that all you were going
No,
to
no,
say?
obviously, look, we can agree that when there are derogatory terms like that, it's offensive.
Yeah.
Of course.
Right. And so if I find it offensive that you refuse to honor someone's they them pronouns, I'm allowed to be offended by that.
But
You're
why-
allowed to be offensive.
Sure.
That's a thing that can happen out in the world. That
Yes.
doesn't make you right.
No, but we had a crazy phase, which I talk about in the book.
Oh, this is good. This is a good move. Our friend here, Ryan, I think, he said just because someone else is offended, it doesn't make them right. To which Piers, being a conservative, has to agree, because that's his whole thing, is the left think they're right just because they're offended. But then turning it on to Piers, just because you're offended doesn't mean you're right. Facts and logic, bitch. They don't care about your feelings.
Where literally, companies, big companies, people were getting fired for not using people's pronouns.
I don't think, look,
No. That has literally never happened. There are 2 people who've made it in the news that I'm aware of. And again, just because I'm not aware of something doesn't mean it hasn't happened. But there are 2 people who deliberately refuse to use a person's correct pronouns and use the wrong ones to harass them and lost their jobs. They weren't even fired. Their contracts were not renewed. And that's a little bit of a different situation, don't you think? Like if a person went out of their way to she, her peers in order to demean him, to make him feel like, oh, you're a little girly man, and harassed him and harassed him and harassed him about it. As a coworker, the employer would be more than justified in taking action. That is not at all the same thing. Again, either Piers is dishonestly misrepresenting the facts of the situation or incompetently misremembering the facts of the situation due to his motivated reasoning bias.
Do you agree that's insane?
Hold on, listen. Anytime change happens, there are going to be blips
But do you
of
agree that was
extremity.
mad? Do you agree nobody
I
should
don't
be
think
fired?
anybody should get fired. No.
Nobody should be fired. So we
No.
agree. This is
No.
good. It's a
Yeah,
good.
no, but the vast majority of people think that, Piers. I mean, for the same reason that most of us call ourselves woke, tongue in cheek, where there's minutia, there's little details, little onto the side cases, and then there's what's common. And what's common is people respect people's pronouns, but it is uncommon for an employer to fire someone for refusing to put them in their
Actually,
email
it's more
signature.
common than you think.
Well-
And actually,
I think it's more common than you think. Oh, that's a case. I think it's more common than you think. So we've got 2 instances of think and no data. Who needs facts when you have really strong opinions? Naturally. Oh, goodness. But on the good side, we do have a super chat from Irish DC who sends £20. Thank you, thank you. And says, so this is a grammar school in the UK, and they used to be schools that taught Latin and now need entry exams to get in. So they're high-end private schools. They're more academic and mostly segregated based on sex. There's a separate boys' school. So yeah, what we've got going on here is a situation where we've got a legacy tradition of separating based on sex, but using colloquial terminology for young people of a gender that typically matches that sex, as has been done for ages. There's still a lot of legal documentation, even here in the woke-ass state of New York, where gender and sex are conflated, because for a period of time, they were used synonymously. And I blame the Puritans for that, because the Puritans didn't want to say sex, so they said gender instead and made the two things seem to mean the same thing. In some circumstances, they are synonymous. But the point is, the school named itself for girls, just like there's another school for boys, but is referring to sex rather than gender through this old colloquial tradition. I don't see an issue. It takes culture a while to get around to things. And especially when something seems to be developing quickly, it would probably be a mistake to try to get too far ahead of the curve and predict where it's going to go next, you know? So yeah, thank you, Irish.
Become a very insidious part of wokeism. I mean, which is what I call the cancel culture. We're going to come to that as a separate question, but this whole idea that if you don't conform to a particular worldview, you have to be
no. Look, I
cancelled,
understand that. Look,
shamed,
there are people on the far extreme of both the left and the right who want to get rid of people who think differently than they do. That's a both sides.
On both sides, I agree.
Oh, the both sidesism. Now, Ryan here may be trying to do that to disarm Piers a bit, to be like, look, I agree with you. I'm on your side. That the sides are both wrong, which is a really weird meta dynamic, but it is a common debate tactic to try to disarm your opponent by saying, look, here's a silly thing that the other people are doing that I agree with you on. Holy crap.
But 95% of us are inside of those sides. This is not like a systemic problem with our whole human society. This is a far edge use case. So if you want to write a book and you want to go around talking about it like it applies to all of us, I just want to be clear, you're taking a molehill and making a mountain out of it.
Sounds like you pretty well agree with
That's what conservatives generally do, is they take something that isn't a problem. Remember, folks, as we often discuss on this show and the other shows we do, trans people aren't actually a problem. We make up something like 1.7% of the population on the high end. The reason conservatives are so hyper-focused on us is because they lost the battle to keep gay people from having rights. With the Obergefell decision, they could no longer deny marriage rights to gay people. So they needed someone else to target. They needed another deviant group to villainize as a wedge issue, to distract their dumb fuck miseducated voters so they wouldn't realize how badly they're getting fucked by their corporate overlords. That's all it is. If Piers were a journalist, he might know that.
Well, yeah, no, I agree with the principle of some of these things can be extreme. What I disagree with is how you take it and you make it this permanently awful bad thing, black and white, binary, it's bad, and you want to dismiss out of hand.
I think wokeism as a mindset is, honestly, I think it's a joyless, hectoring, censoring, virtue signaling.
He wants to talk about other people virtue signaling. Oh, heavens to Betsy. I need my fan. I need to just take a second. Piers thinks other people are virtue signaling. Amazing. The projection on this man. Oh, goodness. As has often been said, woke just means aware of social injustice. We could go into the etymology of the term, where it came from, its origin, its history, its progress, its uses, etc. A lot of us who might be called on the left use it as sort of a meme because the conservatives seem to be so triggered by it. We're like, oh yes, we're the woke social justice warriors. And you're the sleeping sheeple, I suppose. If it makes you happy, fam.
And I say that.
I hear you.
And like I say, I don't say that because I'm on the right, because I'm not.
Sure,
the right will tell you I'm not one of them.
Yeah.
Ask them what they think.
The right will tell you I'm not one of them, which is weird, since he keeps his shows are right wingers, like Blair White and that blonde girl and that other blonde girl.
About things like gun control,
No, I
and
get it. No,
abortion, and things like that,
I get
right?
it. No, your
I'm not.
contrarian thing works is a great brand, and I
Actually,
believe it's authentic. I believe it's
I
authentic.
genuinely
But
sit
here's
in
the
the
thing.
middle on this.
Well, here, fine. But
I genuinely sit in the middle. The man has no understanding of the relative positions of anything. To him, wherever he happens to be is the middle. He's got a bad case of Bill Maherism. I am the enlightened centrist, and people who don't disagree with me must be idiots or crazy. Never mind the fact that he is standing well to the right side of where the little white line in the middle is. Never mind that. Where he is, that makes it the center.
here's the thing. I want to just be clear that what we're talking about are holding against the whole of society edge cases. I have been a grassroots activist for 15 years. I also do stand-up comedy with all kinds of people. People say things that are offensive all the time, and every once in a while, in all these places, you run into one or maybe two people who are these joyless, joy-sucking, nothing is okay people. But all of us, the vast majority of us who give a shit about
See, I don't see that. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure that there are people like that who exist, just like there are people who want to take everyone else's joy away on the conservative side. Oh, you like singing in public? Well, that's demonic. We're gonna throw you in jail for it. That sort of shit. I'm sure people exist who do that on the far left, I guess. But we don't see them ever, when you run into a group of woke folk, they're celebrating each other. You get things like pride festivals where people are running around comparing tips on makeup or styling or where to get medical care, for instance. People celebrate each other. I don't know. I'm not to sound like Piers. I'm just not seeing it, and therefore it doesn't exist.
any of these things, find those people to be unusual.
But my point,
they get cornered over there,
I hear you,
and they're over there. And we don't do, and that's why when you say wokeism is like that, we all go bullshit, because that's not how we are.
Listen,
right. When you misrepresent a position, and people know that that's not what the position is, then people think what you're saying is bullshit. That's literally how that works, Piers. Yes.
That all-encompassing, verdicts on a group of people is often a bit misleading. If you're clearly not an extreme progressive wokey, right? You're somewhere probably a bit more normal, which is, like I said,
normal, like Piers. Normal. Here's a pro tip. Being in the middle does not make a person normal. Normal is the majority of people. Normal means you're polarized. Either you have been attacked by the other group of people, or you're in the group of people who are attacking people for being who they are. That's normal, at least in the United States. That's not how things should be. That's not how things have to be. But that's the majority. Either you're attacking people for who they happen to be, or you're in the group of people who has been attacked, or standing with them in alliance.
That's what my dad says.
No, but I can see you probably are. You probably got quite a common sense valve in you, right?
I hope so.
And that's all I want really is common sense.
Good luck.
Poor Piers. All he wants is common sense. Good luck, as Ryan says. Now they have 2 minutes. They get another debater in there, but we've covered all the things that I really wanted to cover today. So, yeah, that's. Oh, curses! I didn't actually get to. Let me try. Okay, I'll just stay on the bottom. It's fine. I don't mind bottoming from time to time. Especially if I'm well paid. Oh my. Now, I do want to say there's one thing you can count on with talking empty heads like Piers, though. If they say something straight out, it won't just be wrong on a moral level or a societal level or a scientific level. It'll be fractally wrong.
Piers, you opened this up saying if you trained hard enough, you could beat me easily.
Yeah.
So how do you see me? Am I a male or am I a female? Because if you think you can easily beat me because you're
well,
a male,
I happen to be
and
very
I'm
good at
female,
pickleball, so that's a different matter altogether.
You kind of tattled on yourself there. I'm just saying.
Amazing. That's going to do it for this time, folks. Remember to join us weekdays at 11 Eastern for Learn Together Live, a secular morning show where we try to do the opposite of what Piers does and make the world better by exploring true things. Remember to help those less fortunate if you're able. We keep a list of community members in need and their fundraisers on the website, betterthanember.com/help. If you want to support what I'm doing here, there are a bunch of ways to do that, from super chats if you're watching live, super thanks if you're watching later, to Patreon, Venmo, Cash App, and more, linked in the description, but also on the website, along with all my other links, the gender signs that I reference here, resources for GSM people, and of course, the merch store. All of that and more at betterthanember.com. As always, remember, you don't have to take offense to other people existing in a way you don't comprehend. You can learn and do better, or just let people be, because you are better than religion. Toodles. Thanks to all our patrons and top-level members for December. Miranda, Karen Butcher, Jessica the Transmetal Alchemist, Robin Webster, Maya Adkison, Jimmy Tux, Ian Chen, Lilith, Ember Lynn, The Barely Bearable Atheist, Eric Wander, Jason Jacoby, Lil of All Trades, Deviant Outcast, Kelly King, the Detroit Atheist Queen, The Mighty Filbert, Secular Feelinist, and Geo Sam. And you can add your name here next month by signing up at patreon.com/betterthanember, or by joining Emberships here on YouTube at the Cinder level, which includes all the custom emojis, tons of member-exclusive content, member-only live streams, and a bunch of other stuff. I deeply appreciate all the supporters who keep this channel going. Thank you so much. Because of you, we're building a wonderful community that I'm very proud of.
Just like a spark that's breaking out. Can't make a stop, can't turn back now.